We'll give Andy just 1 second.
Oh, this is nice.
Sharon, did you like the paint job?
No, he's on vacation.
Nick, let me know when you're good. Good? All right. Okay, I'll call to order the regular board meeting of October 11th, 2022. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our mission statement is Learning for Life, and the vision statement is Southgate Community Schools, the best choice for students and parents. Brings us to item D, which is the approval of the agenda.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Okay, I have a motion by Dr. Pomponio. Is there support? Support. Supported by Mr. Green. Any discussion on the agenda? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Okay, presentations, National Principals Month.
Yes, I wanted to take a moment to appreciate the principals that we have in Southgate Community Schools. Principals are among the hardest working yet often least recognized individuals in education. They're the first ones that show up at school in the morning and they're last ones to leave. They set the academic tone for their schools, and it's their vision, dedication, and determination that provide the mobilizing force for achieving student success. Each October, NASSP, NAESP, and AFSA seek to honor these unsung heroes for their tireless efforts in pursuit of excellence in education. And tonight, I would like to make sure that Southgate Community Schools echoes that appreciation, and I hope that our public takes a moment over the course of this month to give their appreciation to the principals that support their kids. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next on the agenda is citizens' comments. Is there anyone who'd like to speak tonight? Come on up, bro.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, everyone. Robert Pulowski. I live at 12757 Chestnut Street in Southgate. I'm a senior at Anderson, and I'm a Wayne County Youth Council member. Just a few updates. Our sinking fund, as you all know, if someone didn't visit Harvest Fest this weekend, we had a great time out there talking with folks about our sinking fund. A lot of parents were very supportive. A lot of parents were not educated on it, but we had a conversation. They had some questions for us, and we had a wonderful weekend out there, especially on Saturday. Big shout outs to our sponsors, Southgate Police Department, one of the candidates running for state senate, Houston James, Council President Zoe Cuspa, Mayor Joseph Cuspa. We had a lot of sponsors and a lot of support, so I want to give a big thank you to all of them and all the hard work they've given us. But also big support from our council president. She's been the biggest leader for our sinking fund, and we look forward to bringing a win on November 8th. But as always, no updates on businesses. I'm still working on that. But door-to-door canvassing is coming soon, so we're working that out as we go. But if anyone's at home, make sure to look up our sinking fund online at Southgate Community Schools. But if you are in person, I don't see anybody in person. We have flyers right here on the table at the end of the meeting, and we also have flyers out here in the lobby. And the last thing I want to mention, echoing Ms. Irvine's comments around National Principals Month, I just want to give a big thank you to all of our principals that do a hardworking job. I remember being the kindergarten student and seeing my first principal, which was Mr. Perry at Ford Line. And I don't think he's there anymore, but he's definitely been one of the principals that really put his hard work into this district. And watching new principals come in each year, each month, it's just a blessing. And I just want to say thank you to all of our principals and our teachers for all the hard work they do. and look forward to talking to you guys in 2 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, go ahead and close public comment. Brings us to the superintendent update.
Yes, I did want to bring to your attention that we have with us a student from Dearborn Public Schools, and she is in a photography class, and she is taking pictures that she is going to display in her class. So we'll put up the Titan symbol, and we're going to say go Titans. All right, I do want to acknowledge, or at least follow up on the presentation that we had last week with Dean Transportation, and we do have our athletic busing now as restarted through Dean Transportation. We've also changed one aspect of our routes. So, we've decided that Trenton Road is not a crossable road, so that whole area on the other side of Trenton Road from DMS is now eligible for middle school riders, and that will start this week. And that is a change that we problem solved through based on feedback we had gotten from parents. Another big announcement is that our WIN dates have come in, and so our parent calendar is going to be released tomorrow. And I think that our families will be pleased with the work that we've done to protect large blocks of time, instructional time for students. We removed those intermittent days off, and I think you'll see a much improved calendar coming out that gives us a week at Thanksgiving for students, December 23rd. We also have then a 4-day weekend at Memorial Day weekend. And that's how we're taking our WIN days and spreading them out so that they're, I think, much more usable and friendly to families. So that will come out tomorrow. And those are my updates, except for Go Titans, and we play Woodhaven at home on Friday night. So there we go.
We look forward to that. Thank you. Okay, it brings us to the consent agenda, which consists of September 27, 2022 regular meeting minutes, an HR update, and September 2022 disbursements. I'll entertain a motion on the consent agenda.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Okay, I have a motion by Dr. Pomponio. Is there support?
Yes.
I'm gonna give that one to Mr. Lamas.
That's fine.
All right.
There was too much of a lag.
All right, any discussion on the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes. Action item number 1, approval of the Anderson High School overnight hockey trips.
I'll turn this over to our AD.
Hello again. So I'm seeking approval for 2 overnight hockey trips for our regular season hockey team this season. So the first trip is November 18th to 19th. It's a Friday to Saturday. They will play Friday night against Cadillac and then Saturday morning against Manistee. And then the second overnight trip is December 9th through 10th. Again, another Friday to Saturday, and they will play Tawas area on Friday night and then Bay area on Saturday morning.
Nice.
Any questions? All right. Seeing none, we'll bring the discussion back to the table, and I'll entertain a motion on action item number 1.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the overnight trips for the Anderson High School hockey team as presented.
Okay, I have a motion by Dr. Pomponio. Is there support?
Support.
Supported by Mr. Sage. Any discussion? All right, seeing
Go
none, I'll...
Titans.
Yeah, go Titans, there you go. All right, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes.
Thank you.
Good luck.
All right, approval, item number 2 is the approval of the Grogan Elementary window leak repair project.
Good evening.
Windows aren't supposed to leak, are they?
No,
All right,
that's the problem. Good evening. Jason Hardy, Director of Operations with Southgate Community Schools. I'm here to propose a recommendation for Grogan Elementary window leak repair. So Grogan has had an ongoing problem with the water leaking into the classrooms. The original problem was believed to be the roof. The roof was replaced in the summer of 2021. However, the problem keeps persisting. After a bit of testing, it was determined that the areas above the window at the steel lintels were poorly constructed. in the bond of 2016. The warranty of the 2016 work has passed. In November, Jacob Galarza and Rob Kukowski identified 6 problem areas, and Ram Construction repaired these areas just this last summer of 2022. The repair held in the 6 locations and the water stopped leaking. However, there's several other areas that are problematic, and this project will address the remaining areas of concern. So there's 15 more locations that the windows need to come out. There needs to be repair to the lintel above the windows. The windows have to be put back in, re-caulked in, re-flashed in to stop the leak to coming into Grogan classrooms. Ram Construction originally did the work, and so this would be a change order to the original contract for this 15 locations that are left. It's a added lump sum of $60,215. The money will come from the 2020 bond fund. So it is our recommendation, the Board of Education, to approve Ram Construction Services to provide the services at these 15 additional locations. Questions? I see hands.
Mr. Green?
Rand Construction did it in 2016.
No, they did it just this past summer in 2022.
So I was gonna say, whoever did it in 2016, we don't want them.
Right.
I agree.
Okay.
So they repaired the 6 windows this last summer. The repair worked. There's no more leaking in those locations.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Camponi?
So how many years of a warranty did we have from the bond from 2016?
2016, typical warranty is about 3 years. So 2019, it would have ended.
Okay,
And it
so,
depends on the work that had been done, the windows or, you know, air handler versus, so equipment versus building envelope.
okay. And so for the bid for this, how many people put in a bid, or did you put it out for a bid?
So this was bid prior to me coming to Southgate, and Ram did the work this summer as I was coming on board. So they gave us a price to do the extra 15 locations, and I called and said, hey, can you drop the price? So they were able to lower the price on each opening. The original amount was $4,145 per opening, and they dropped it to $4,014 per opening. So we have a little bit of savings there.
I don't know that for sure, because just like with the prices going up,
Yeah.
I'd like to see what other companies are charging, because there is that, thing out there where these companies are losing money, so they're charging more. So I don't know what the difference is between this bid and another bid,
Sure.
I
and
think,
what they offer, and how many years is the warranty? Are they given a warranty?
They will warranty the labor on their work. The windows are existing windows, they're not replacing windows, so the material won't be warranted, but the labor will be warranted for the work that they did.
How many years is that, or,
I have to get that
Standard.
in writing, I don't have that in front of me currently.
okay. I guess I'm just frustrated because I don't wanna be signing a blank check and saying, okay, when already you're presenting to us there was shoddy work that was done that's causing this, so
Right.
I'd like to see a comparison in what all we're getting, and, how many years they're gonna warranty it out.
but this is the same company that did the repair work in the summer. So this is one of the reasons why Jason felt it would cause problems to actually do any other company or bring any other company in, is we may not get the same outcome. You could have a completely different approach to dealing with that problem that could cause more problems having half the windows done by one company and half of them done by someone else. So I think that was one reason why he
Yes.
saw that as a connection to that original bid.
The other thing too, if we decide to approve this, they will get most windows done before the snow flies, where this problem would have to wait until spring, possibly, if we go and bid it out. So I see this more of an emergency action. We want it to stop leaking, and in the winter, it's gonna get worse because of snow and the ice load on the roof. And it's gonna come into the classrooms, affecting the learning of the kids. So,
I definitely see what you're saying. I'm just saying that.
yep,
Because I've done a lot of renovations over the summer with contractors and stuff, you know, it can go from 5,000 to 15,000 for things, so I just wanna make sure that we're getting the most
Okay.
for our money, but, and to see the comparisons.
Okay,
Thank you.
yep.
Mr. Sage?
Oh, go ahead.
I was just, and this is, you may not be aware of this because you weren't here yet, obviously, but do we know if RAM looked at all the windows previously? I guess, do you know why this is coming up after they did the other ones, per se?
Yes, they did look at the whole project in totality. If you look at, you know, their estimate here, it says base bid and then alternate one. Alternate one is, for the whole project, adding to the base bid. So if you would've totaled those together and we'd have taken it at one time, it'd have been around $85,000. But they dropped the alternate one pricing a little bit lower, cause I talked to them and said, hey, you've been through 6 of these, can you do any better? So they were able to shave some money off that
In,
price.
I will say that in November, the communication of the urgency of the other locations was not conveyed.
That's
It
what I'm
was
getting at, is, yeah.
communicated that as long as you fix these 6, you will be done, and it won't be a problem. And was the quality of the recommendations.
So
that
these were
came.
the best of the worst at the time, and now they need to be redone.
Right, except that the question was asked, well, what about the rest? And they said, well, the rest will probably hold, maybe down the road you might need to, but the road turned out to be a very short one.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Lums?
So the per window bid for the first go-around of 24K, it's roughly the same cost per window, per opening for the labor to fix the second round, right?
It's $131 difference, per opening.
So it's, but roughly,
Yeah.
it's the same. Do we have any recourse at all with the original 2016 installation?
Not at this point, because the warranty has expired on the labor. The windows are still good, the material, you might have a longer warranty life on those, but it's the caulking, it's the lintel above is a piece of metal above between your steel and your window, and it wasn't flashed right. So water's rolling off the roof and coming in the windows is what essentially is happening in the caulk around the windows too, so. It's more the labor than,
Yeah, the only other question I would ask is, as Dr. Pomponio mentioned, is I think we need to know what the warranty is before we sign.
okay. I can get that information and bring it back in front of you.
Thank you.
No problem.
Mr. Green?
I would ask that for you, that, and this is no disrespect to you, you weren't here, or the current superintendent, or anybody else who's here, and I'm not saying that we make the best decisions at hand for what's presented to us, but whoever, you know, I don't remember off the top of my head, 6 years ago, whoever presented it to us, whether it was Plant Moran or buildings director, whoever, that, you know, convinced this board at the time that this was the proper way to go. And I know we're not using these people again, but I can tell you from personal experience, since just my daughter went through Grogan, and on multiple times I saw those leaks and I saw teachers complaining, and I brought it to the attention of the superintendent at the time, and pretty much it's gonna be fixed, and nothing was done about it. So now here we are with a $60,000 bill, because we have to not have windows, and I saw some of those leaks, I don't know which ones, but I saw multiple leaks walking through those schools over the years. And I would ask that we, with a new regime here, do our due diligence and be better at looking at the quality of the work that we have, to know that what we're getting and what we pay for is of quality, and that, you know, before we cut them a check or before we sign off on anything for the final bill, that what they say they're going to provide, an expert, which, you know, I'm going to say you, is going to check this, and we're just not gonna rubber stamp it through, and we're
Right.
in this same situation 3 or 4 years later.
I agree.
I have one more question. Sure. Excuse me. Was it Plant Moran that was overseeing that work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, I think we might just have a little bit of leverage with them, and I think it would be interesting to see them raise their hand and offer to help and accept some responsibility here. I'm sure you know what I'm referring to.
I mean, let's be honest with Plant Moran right now, and if he was here, I would say the same thing.
Yeah, well, no,
We had an
no question
issue-
about it.
We had an issue with the floors, at certain schools that they recommended. We had an issue, if you remember, a few years ago before COVID with the electrical in certain buildings. You know, this isn't the first time that something that they have recommended to us, or we pay them and we have contracted them and put our faith in them as this board and in this school district and in this community, and it's fallen short. So I agree with Mr. Lamos that there needs to be a discussion with Plant Moran.
You have something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that it had to have been inspected and signed off on by somebody.
Correct.
And if you're saying that it was not properly installed at the time, it should have been caught.
You're
Or
correct.
within the 3 years, something should have been noticed, so.
I agree.
And in all honesty, that has been a pattern the last few years that has to stop.
Sure, I'm gonna, so this had to do with the original window replacement that we did there, right? They replaced those windows?
2016, I'm not sure of the total scope of the work in 2016 bond, but yes, they're newer windows, so I'd say yes, they replaced
Yeah,
the
I
windows.
thought they replaced those windows and, okay, so I guess that's almost a separate item from this one that's in front of us tonight. What we have in front of us tonight is a price from a company to repair this. I think the risk we run if we don't move forward on this tonight and spend this money is what happens to water when it gets in behind things and then freezes is it causes bigger problems. I think the best move is to move on this item right now and then sort out who owes us $60,000 in the future. Because I think somebody owes us $60,000. I'm not so fast to say our warranty's expired and, oh, well, I think we need to go get some money from somebody, because if things are installed wrong, that's not a warranty item. Things that are installed improperly are, they didn't meet the specs, they didn't perform their contract. Now, why we're catching it 5 years later, I don't know, but if somebody did not perform to the contract specifications, then I think they owe us a remedy. Whoever that is, whether we gotta go back and talk to,
Rob at,
well,
Kukowski's.
so Plant Moran is our owner's rep, they were not our GC, Clark was our GC, so I mean, Clark has insurance, and they have insurance for these kinds of reasons, so we should go
Right.
back and have a conversation with, of course, Plant Moran Cressa representing us, and have us a conversation with Clark and whatever contractor or subcontractor was hired to do this work, and explain to them how we fixed it and what remedies we need and evidence of that. So I'm sure you'll take lots of pictures as things are opening up and showing. That, I think, is a separate fork in the road. The path we're on, though, is we need to repair our product. This is our building, it's our product. We need to keep track of it and repair it. I personally don't have a big issue with the amount. I mean, it's gonna happen now. They're on site, they know how to fix it, there's a big learning curve with things like this. Some companies might know how to fix it, they might propose a way to fix it that might not work. We know they know how to fix it, and it's gonna protect our buildings for an investment. I think that's something we should.
Mr. President.
Mr. Green.
To be clear, I agree with you. I agree we have to act on this and have to do it now. I totally agree. My question is my point, as you said, and Mr. Lamos said, is there has to be a follow-up to this.
Right.
So this doesn't continue happening.
Sure.
And, I mean, you're to the point of, it's not a warranty, it's a breach of contract, in a way, you
Right.
know, so that's a totally separate. I agree with this, that has to be done. Just knowing the history of you being new, hopefully we're done with this, because this has happened too much to us in the last couple of years. It can't keep happening.
Absolutely, not to you, and it's just, we've been
I hear
burned
you.
several
I hear you.
times
Yep.
with different things from representation from Plant Moran too.
Well, we've had to interrupt several things over the last couple of years.
Right.
That, when left to their own devices, did not give us what we wanted. And so
Right.
there have been several change orders and pushback we've given, so.
Thank you for all your
watching it.
work
Thank
on
you.
this.
No problem.
Right.
One last thing, I think you can see that you're empowered, you and the administration are empowered by the board to have these tough discussions with our vendors and treat it the way I know you know how to treat it. So, thank you.
Okay. Anything else for staff?
Thank you.
All right, we'll bring the discussion back to the board, and I'll entertain a motion on action item number 2.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the window leak repair project at Grogan Elementary for an amount not to exceed $60,215.
Okay, I have a motion by Dr. Pomponio. Is there support?
Support.
Supported by Mr. Lamas. Any discussion? No, we're going through it thoroughly. All right, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. All right. Item number 3, the approval of the purchase of science room faucets and traps at Anderson High School.
I want to jump in just before you start and say that there's probably a big question about whether this needed to come for board approval, because we're talking about faucets, and we don't necessarily bring every faucet that we purchase, to the board for approval. But I felt that it was very important on a very public kind of moment to say that we have not had lab sinks that have been working, and that this is a repair to our lab sinks. So the project in itself, as a $54,000 change order, I feel needs that vote of approval from the board and acknowledgement, and moving forward that we're doing something different also in the rigor of the courses that we're providing. So I'll let Jason also give that information.
Sure. So over the years, the sinks at Anderson High School Science Room have been disconnected. Although some are still functional, they do not meet code. To make sure students have access to rigorous science courses with the full experience of a lab setting, we're offering this recommendation to bring all the sinks back to working order and per code. This will require 70 new faucets and acid waste traps. JM & Sons Plumbing is working at the nanatorium project at Anderson High School currently. They have provided a quote to install the new faucets and bring them up to code with new acid waste traps for a cost of $54,625.73. The money will come from our 2020 bond fund. The price is an industry standard price and will constitute a change order through Granger. Now let me explain a little bit. There is 2 classrooms at Anderson currently that has 1 working faucet out of 9. The rest have been disconnected. I'm embarrassed to say that because, they're not able to do learning in those classrooms. I don't know why, I don't know how, but it's not right. So, we looked at all 6 science rooms, classrooms at Anderson High School. 2 of the science labs have 19 faucets in each of them, so 38 faucets are going in 2 rooms, and then the rest are going in the other 4 classrooms. But it's every sink, every faucet. So some of the faucets, your hot water works, your cold doesn't. 2 classrooms are totally disconnected, 100%. If you look underneath the sinks, there's plastic traps, and that's why it's not code, because they work with chemicals. Chemicals make their way down the sink, plastic trap, the chemicals eat through it. So there gotta be a stainless steel trap underneath the sinks to bring it up to code for functionality in the science rooms. So, questions? Yes?
Pomponio.
So now, when a science teacher is teaching the class and they have to go by the curriculum, and isn't that the use of those things, isn't that part of the curriculum that they have to?
They had not been doing that part.
For how long? How long, do you know how long it's been like that?
I heard the last year and a half they haven't had sinks, and I'm embarrassed to say that because I don't know how anybody could have let this happen.
Going forward, do we have a process of like checks and balances of what?
We do.
Okay. Thank you, appreciate it.
Sage.
Do we know that this project isn't gonna turn into something much larger when they dive into it? Are we sure it's just, the faucets and the traps? It's not going beyond that, because we don't know why they're disconnected. Is that a fair statement, or?
I had feedback from the teacher. They worked prior to them being disconnected, and she wasn't sure why. All of a sudden, one day she came in and everything was disconnected. So there's some history there, and I'd rather, keep that in the past. It's deals with the other maintenance individuals that were here.
My
So,
concern is just, is this gonna turn to a much larger scope when they dive into this and,
Yep.
and replace one, and now it's turned into something much larger?
I had the plumber look at every fixture, and this is his quote to bring them back up and running. So he looked at underneath all the sinks that had been disconnected. Still active sewer, because when we went underneath the sink, there was sewer gas coming up, and it smelled horrible in the classroom. So the sewer line is still active, and that's the biggest thing. Is it plugged? Is there a broken pipe underneath there?
Right.
Is that why all 9 sinks were disconnected?
Right, exactly.
But the teacher's sink still works, the other 8 don't, and they're all tied into the same. Yes.
And I'm assuming that you're going with JM and Sons because they're doing the natatorium work?
They're doing the work currently, yes, at the natatorium project. So, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for staff?
I have just one kind of comment. I'm still confused about, and this is embarrassing, like you said.
Yes.
Frankly. I can't, if I were the teacher, I'd be standing on the desk, jumping and screaming, and then running into the principal's office, throwing chairs, and then running to your office and throwing chairs. I don't, and I know that, I just don't understand that. So I know that one of the reasons we hired you was to bring in process and checks and balances and accountability, and I know we've done a lot of that already. And you found some interesting pockets of where that lacks a lot. So I have full faith in you and your administration, and I'm sure the whole board does as well. But I'm speaking to every employee in the district. This is our district. When you see stuff like this happening, you're the one that can stand, you have authority, you have the right to stand up on desks and raise hell. This is not acceptable. This is not the way business should be done. And for any reason, not the least of which is our kids learning stuff, the right stuff. So, thank you for letting me rant.
I do think that the board's willingness to invest in facilities at this point in time is making a big difference in providing the resources to do this. And I do believe that teachers have habituated to low expectations on the facility side. And I think that that's changing.
Yeah, and I'm not beating up on teachers.
I got everybody.
What I'm saying is you're empowered to do the right thing, flat out.
Thank you. Mr. Green?
I mean, in response to Mr. Lamos, I hear you, but I think they have. I've heard multiple times, I can go back to Grogan, where they did try to bring it to a board member in previous years, and then all we do is we try to bring it to the superintendent, facilities manager, and they tell us it's fixed. And then we hear a couple months later it's not, and at some point, you get the passive resistance. I can tell you as a teacher, if I've blown my mind a couple of times, and at some point, it's probably not right, but you give up. And so hopefully at this point, we're under a new regime where that's not gonna happen. I'm not saying they all have, but I do think teachers have asked for these things to be fixed at times, and quite blunt, to be blunt, they've been ignored.
That may well be the case.
I don't think it was in, oh,
Sorry, I had Dr. Pomponio next, then you, Mr.
Oh, no, I didn't have nothing.
Oh.
I was just letting you, Andy.
Yep.
I don't think it was ever an unwillingness for the board to make some of these fixes. Some of the stuff we never knew about. It never got brought up to us. So there was a level before us that kept it from us. I know my wife many times had, when she found out about a problem, she's like, I'm gonna go up the chain of command, you. And like, well, you have to call Dr. Lyons right now. So that's when she called and some of the problems got fixed. But we've always have been, our facilities, who we are. We want our children to learn in the best environment. And having children, many of us have children in the school system, we want them to be in the best environment. So if we've ever known about a problem, we made sure it was fixed.
And we were told it was fixed.
Yes.
Yeah, we were told up here
It's good.
numerous times that things were good, and then we find out later that they weren't.
Anything else for staff? All right, bring the discussion back to the table, and I'll entertain a motion on action item number 3.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of 70 new faucets and traps for the science rooms at Anderson High School for an amount not to exceed $54,625.73.
Okay, I have a motion by Dr. Pomponio. Is there support?
Support.
Mr. Lama, who's that? Mr. Sage?
Sean.
Okay. Any discussion?
Mr. President,
Sage?
just, I know you're being sarcastic, but we don't want anybody jumping on the desks here at Southgate Schools. That's the only thing.
No desk jumping.
Well, no liability issues.
No liability.
No,
Per
OSHA,
Mr. Lamos.
OSHA disapproves.
All right. I'm gonna go ahead and say this is like basic stuff. I mean, this is not, this is just like asking if we can put a light bulb in the fixture, so, it's pretty basic stuff. I'm shocked that it wasn't done before, but not shocked, and, so, but that's why we have different people in these places and in these roles, and, I think we're gonna see differences moving forward, so. Any other discussion? All right, with that, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I don't see any items for discussion. I don't see any employee representatives. Information announcements from the board. Mr. Green.
A couple of things. Thank you, Mr. President. I would just like to say that, and I know I've said this before and many of us have, but there's some good things, a lot of good things happening in this district. I had the opportunity 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, to walk through all the elementary schools and just to see the kids learning and to see the, talking to teachers and other people that seem to be happy. I mean, there were some problems, don't get me wrong. There were some complaints and some issues that I shared with Ms. Irvine. And we're doing our best, and we're not perfect, and it's fluid. We're always moving. It's in perpetual motion trying to get this right. And then the buzz of the community in a lot of ways from the elementary school up, and I'm not just talking because of the football team, which I'm very proud of, being part of it and how those kids have played so far, no matter what happens the rest of the year. But the homecoming game was, this community was behind, win or lose, when the game was getting close. The homecoming booth, which was the first year, I had a chance to glance at briefly, walking out and rah-rah to the freshmen. Since my daughter's a freshman, I guess I'll give her that for winning. The soccer team, I went and saw play, and although things didn't go well, the parents were there and the kids were playing hard. The cheerleaders, the clubs that are in session right now that I don't see, and then even the band, and the homecoming game. What really struck me, and you're talking to a football coach, right, is that after the homecoming game, I walked out and watched the band perform, and to see a couple of football players out there and the cheerleaders sitting out there watching them, and the stand still being full, and the band and the color guard, flag guard, I'm not sure what they're called, I'm sorry.
Winter guard?
Color guard, I was right. To perform after the game was pretty prideful to be living in this community. So, keep with us. Southgate Schools is a good place to be, and it's getting better each day. And I'm just gonna kind of leave it at that. So be proud of yourselves as a community. Be proud of yourselves as students. Be proud of being part of this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Dr. Pom-
Oh, go
let
ahead,
me
Mel.
give this to Mr. Gray.
I would just like to echo Mr. Green's sentiments on the homecoming, the atmosphere, the vibe of Southgate is turning around, and it was really nice being at the parent-teacher conferences this past week and talking with the teachers and the excitement that they have. And we're doing a great job, that everyone is really working hard, and the vibe is different here now, so let's keep that up.
Good.
And I just want to say that I've been here 14 years, and there's been a lot of ups and downs, but over the past few years, the changes now have been very transparent, and this board, I'm so proud of this board, not saying this in an election year, but you know, there's people that don't understand the dynamics and they'll come and go, but this has been a cohesive and intelligent board that really looks at everything. So I'm proud to work with the guys that I'm working with, so I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Seeing nothing else, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. President,
Mr. Green,
I make a motion to adjourn.
is there support?
Yeah.
Supported by Mr. Lamas. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.
Good night.
I know, that was right.
Yeah. Somebody put a top bill into Neil's house.
I know.
Tonight.
If you want me to say, kick-
That's a motion.
My neck's a little sore.
4 years. Neil's over here. Neil's over here like